Hello and welcome to the Father and Son Formula One podcast. I'm the father in the title, Graham Miller, and here is my son, Toby.
Hello.
And today, Toby's called the episode F1 Spain. I'm insisting it is the Formula One Aramco Gran Premio de España 2025.
Yeah, that's not too bad. It's one sponsor. And then,
how's my pronunciation, by the way?
Well, you got the N in España right.
Oh, good. Toby speaks better Spanish than me.
A tiny bit. Honestly, it's been ages.
Yeah, it has been years.
Losing it a bit, but oh well.
Yeah, we're doing this quite a bit later, but a lot happened over the weekend that we were waiting to see basically how it played out more than anything.
There were some developing stories.
Yes. I'm looking back to remind myself, I think the story of the free practices really was, oh look, the rule change made no difference.
Yeah.
So there was a rule change going into this Grand Prix weekend that is really minor and technical. What Red Bull accused McLaren, let's not beat around the bush, I was going to say some teams were accused of, was having a flexible wing so that in low downforce corners low speed corners it would have high downforce for grip.
Yeah.
And when they went on the straight, the airflow over it would twist the wing so it was flatter, like they called it mini DRS. So you get high speeds on the straights and high grip on the corners, which is obviously the holy grail.
Yeah.
So the limits, what the FIA do is they apply a set predetermined load or weight to each wing. And then they've got an amount it's allowed to deform by, and pretty much across the board they halved the amount of deformation they were going to allow.
Yeah.
So where it was 50 mil, it went down to 25. Where it was 30, it went down to 15, and so on.
Yes.
And everybody kind of, well, not predicted, but I think there was a general feeling that it would narrow the field up and it would make it.
Yeah.
People would get closer to the McLarens basically because they thought. They thought that was one of the secrets to their success. And it wasn't really.
No. It turns out that it wasn't like a sort of smoking gun, single trick up their sleeve that was giving them like seconds a lap of pace.
No.
They've just got the best package, basically.
Yeah, and I think it was one of the commentaries, and I missed the end of this conversation, but one of them said, why have the FIA done it?
Yeah.
Which is actually a really interesting question because the whole point of Formula One is innovation and technical excellence and extracting the best out of the rules and the package.
Yeah.
And the FIA have admitted that having the wing flex at the rate was actually inside the rules.
Yeah. Well, I think it was probably just pressure from Red Bull, to be honest.
Oh,
or other teams. I think maybe if, so many of the teams complained about it.
Yeah.
They've always sort of, they've never been like, these are the rules and we're sticking to them. They've always been a bit flexible on if people complain.
Yeah.
And you aren't supposed to have movable aerodynamic parts.
No.
Technically, apart from DRS.
Yeah, it's a bit... I think one of the theories is, I think the cars with their current top speeds and their current cornering loads are probably approaching the limit of what the FIA feel is safe for most of the circuits.
Yeah, probably.
Obviously places like Singapore, Azerbaijan and Saudi are fairly terrifying because they're relatively high speed without gravel runoff areas.
Yeah.
But I think the feeling was, and this is just my guess, that, if they could grip better and go faster and throw it into corners with more lateral forces, if they got it wrong, they'd be hitting the barriers with more force, and there's possibly a limit to not just how much the cars can take, but how much the drivers can take.
Yeah, that's why they banned ground effect the first time.
Yeah.
And the fan car. It wasn't just that they broke the rules, it made the cars too fast to be safe, basically.
And the other side of it as well is the spectacle.
Yeah, if they think it might improve following, then they will do that.
Yeah, and also, I think with the flexible wings, it was making the car much lighter on its tyres. So it was lower degradation, which means less pit stops, which means if you qualify high up, a lot more races will become like Monaco, where you can't overtake because they're that bit faster. They don't need to stop that often.
It does make the racing more boring.
And there have been a lot of circuits this year where Pirelli have just moved all the options one grade softer.
Yeah.
And we have seen, I think Spain was one where when they were doing hot laps, they were actually saying, well, if you attack the first one or maybe two sectors of the lap, you can feel it at the end of the third sector.
Yeah.
So the soft tyre wasn't actually hard enough to do a whole super aggressive lap.
Yeah. Which is kind of amazing to think about in a way.
Well, yeah, and you think about like your road tyres, you can get 30,000 miles, give or take, maybe 25,000 miles, depending on what you've got and how you're driving.
Yeah.
And now these people are making tyres that can last 2.
Yeah, something like that. 3 kilometres? 5, 6 kilometres?
Not that, they'll be completely worn out.
No, because they did do some stints on the soft.
Yeah.
It's just the difference between low fuel qualifying maximum push.
Yeah.
And obviously, they feel them giving out. But in the race, they feel them giving out. They keep going for another 5 laps.
And there was, I think it was Imola, where the tyres went off and then came back at them, so...
Yeah. There was somewhere that happened. That does happen. They go through like a graining phase.
And then they kind of clear up and keep going.
Yeah.
I'm just looking through the free practices.
Had some rookies in FB1, I believe.
Oh, okay. It seemed to be very much McLaren at the front. Let's go back to FB1.
Just looking at the bottom. Victor Martin in the Williams.
Uh-huh.
Hirakawa again in the Haas.
Yep.
I think that's it, actually. Crucially,
you have to be a bit careful because my cursor flicked over Bortoletto and I was like, oh no, wait a minute.
Yeah, no, I also saw Bortoletto and Colapinto and had to go, no, they don't count anymore.
Yeah, they're in.
But yeah, crucially not Drogovic.
No.
That is important for later.
Yes.
Foreshadowing.
Yep. So McLaren, Piastri and Norris were pretty much topping the timesheets.
Yeah, Russell was
Leclerc, Russell were... it seems like apart from the McLarens, it's developing into a one-horse race for Ferrari, to some extent, Ferrari, Mercedes and Red Bull.
What do you mean? For each team?
For each team.
Has only got one driver up at the front.
Yeah, Antonelli in the free practices. Antonelli's doing all right for a rookie.
He's doing pretty good for a rookie. For a rookie. If this was
considering
his
he's up
6th or
against
7th
Russell.
season, you start to ask questions. Yeah, Russell's not a slouch.
No.
But yeah, I see what you mean. Up at the front, it's like Leclerc, Russell, Verstappen. And then you look a bit further down, and it's Antonelli in 7th, Hamilton in 9th, and Tsunoda down in 14th.
Yeah, and once again, I'm looking through the free practices. Bizarrely, both the Racing Bulls seem to place above Tsunoda.
Yeah, Hadjar was on it in practice.
Hadjar has been, like we say every week, he's been the absolute revelation of the rookies, I think.
Because again, going into this season, everybody was talking about Antonelli and I suppose Behrman to a degree.
And Colapinto, because we'd seen them at racing.
Yeah, and there was the swap over. But Hadjar was like, oh, they just need another Red Bull driver for the meat grinder.
Yeah.
But now people are saying, please, Red Bull, don't promote him to the main Red Bull seat.
Yeah, let him
He's getting more points in the Racing Bulls.
And also, don't forget, in Australia, he went out in the rain on the formation lap.
Yeah, he crashed.
His first ever Formula One weekend.
Was a DNS, first ever entry was a DNS.
Yeah, and he was really dejected, and I know Lewis has been really supportive because he's so young that he kind of grew up with posters of Hamilton on his wall and idolised him, and then...
Yeah, which must be quite weird for Hamilton as well.
He just seems to have actually handled it with class because they were going round in Australia on the parade lap with them all on the back of a lorry.
Yeah.
Waving at the crowd and everything.
Mm.
And Hamilton went over to him and said, here, get your phone, take a selfie with me because this is like your first ever Formula One weekend. You're going to want to remember it.
Yeah. Which is pretty awesome.
Yeah. Oh, right. Qualifying was a car crash, I think. Not literally, but...
Oh god, I don't actually remember qualifying.
Guess who qualified 20th?
Sonoda.
Yes.
I can see it on my screen. Yeah. Although, again, only like 500ths away from 19th.
That's still... That's 50 thousandths. That's pretty.
I'm having a look. Less than a second off P1 again, though. 8/10 off P1. Which is obviously not good.
Considering his teammates legitimately in the title fight and he qualified 20th, I mean...
But again, I'm saying like 8/10 off P1. 5 years ago, that would have been like 5th.
Yeah.
So it is... I think it's a little bit unfair. Maybe comparing him to like Albon or Gasly in that seat. Because they generally did a bit better, but maybe the gaps were bigger.
Yeah, but I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I don't think it matters how you kind of slice the numbers and go, yeah, but 5 years ago. I think qualifying 20th in what is legitimately one of the top 4 teams.
But is it though? Because the second car hasn't been up there all year.
No.
So I think Max is a top 4 driver.
Yeah.
But it's very hard to tell whether they're a top 4 team. Because the consensus is that McLaren are the fastest.
Yeah.
But they've also got actually an incredibly strong lineup who are very closely matched.
Yeah.
If you put like, I don't know, Bortoletto and Colapinto in the McLaren, would they win the races?
Well, certainly get podiums.
But you can't ever really sort of know, can you?
No.
So I think
the thing that makes the McLaren powerful is not only its raw out-and-out speed, but the fact that its degradation is very low, its brake and tyre cooling is very low.
Yeah, it's a smooth car.
Generally appears to be quite an easy-going car. It's not like Max's car that is completely, fly-by-wire.
Yeah, Max's car is like kind of untamable. Like a wild animal. Which is probably why both Tsunoda and Lawson have struggled so much.
Interestingly, I read an analogy. I can't remember the years, but Michael Schumacher won his first 2 world titles with Benetton.
94, 95, I was going to
say 91, 92, but around that...
That was prime Senna Prost, that was.
Oh, yeah, no, you're right.
I'm just checking.
But what happened to Benetton after Michael Schumacher left?
I don't remember.
They went from 2 world titles to 1 race win in the next 7 years.
Yeah.
And I think a similar thing might happen
to Red Bull.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Ferrari as well. They've got 5 titles in a row with old Schumi.
Yeah.
He leaves in 06. Yes, Raikkonen sneaks a championship the next year, but after that, that's it.
And the 07 title was very close fought.
I mean, you could say McLaren lost the championship rather than Ferrari won.
Well, yeah.
There was lots of stuff going on that year.
But people are wondering if that might happen to Red Bull if Max leaves the sport or leaves them.
If Max left today and they put Lawson in the second Red Bull seat, they'd be like the slowest team on the grid. They'd be 19th and 20th every race. Until
they started adapting it back to a more reasonable driving style.
That might take a whole season, though.
Yeah. I mean, Lawson qualified 13th.
Yeah,
and Tsunoda qualified 20th, so...
But where was Hadjar?
I think he got in the Q3.
Let me have a look.
Yeah, 9th.
But the Racing Bulls, 13th and 9th. That's good. That's a midfield team.
Yeah.
It's the fact that it's 3rd and 20th. It's like there's something weird going on.
And you're right, because like Mercedes qualified 4th and 6th.
Even Hamilton did quite a good job, to be fair.
Oh, no, see, that was strategy.
He is actually ahead of Leclerc. I don't remember what happened.
Because, as we just said, Pirelli are bringing softer and softer tyres, and it's predicted to be a 2-stop race at least, if not a 3.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Leclerc, what happened in Q3 is everybody went out to get banker laps in, including Leclerc. And then everybody went out for their, the track has got maximum evolution, I want to be last over the line, Banzai, do or die laps. And Leclerc sat in the garage.
Yeah.
Which meant he had one set. He had more sets. I think he had a set of brand new softs and 2 sets of brand new mediums.
Yes.
Because he'd done fewer laps. And it did mean that Lewis started 2 positions further up in 5th.
Yes.
But it played out beautifully in the race.
Yes. And I remember afterwards, Leclerc was like, yes, we're 7th, but I knew that was going to happen. And he said it was his choice.
Yeah.
It wasn't the team, like, making a mistake. He said, I'm choosing not to go out to save tyres.
Yeah, and we had, like, a Piastri-Norris front row lockout and...
Yeah, so was it Piastri-Norris, Verstappen?
Yeah, Russell, Hamilton.
Pretty standard, Antonelli, Leclerc.
Yeah.
And then no second RB. So
it was Gasly.
That's pretty good for Gasly.
And Alonso in Spain.
Gasly's also massively outdriving his Alpine.
Yeah.
And yeah, Alonso in the top 10 at his own race.
Yeah, because Colapinto was down in 18th, so...
But then again, Gasly's a veteran at this point.
Yeah.
And, Briatore's doing like 5 races and kicked him out, so...
Yeah, there's actually rules on how many drivers you can field, and I think Alpine are getting close to that.
Oh yeah, they can't actually keep adding drivers, can they?
No, I think they allow 4 drivers per team.
So he's got 1 more.
Yeah.
Get Nelson Piquet Jr. back.
Oh, God. 19 cars start... Now, this is I don't know if you've heard about... Well, obviously you've heard. Lance Stroll retired after qualifying.
Well, he withdrew from the race.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because in off-season of 2023... before the
pre-season testing, I believe. Or actually, just before the testing.
Yeah, because he had a bicycle accident.
Yeah.
And broke both his wrists.
Yes.
And he had, I think, surgery and pins. And after qualifying, he announced that he'd been in pain for 6 weeks and it had got worse. And he was withdrawing from the actual race.
Yes.
The rules of Formula One are that in order to compete in the race, you have to have completed at least 1 session.
Yeah, 1 practice session.
So if Dragovic had completed a session, would he have taken Stroll's 14th place on the grid?
I don't actually know.
I'm not sure.
So let's say Dragovic does FP1, which is not unlikely because he is their academy driver.
Yeah.
Actually, if I was skipping ahead a bit, he is back for Canada. But if I was Aston Martin, I'd put Dragovic in FP1 just in case.
Oh, no, because it's the...
I have just realised, as I said it, it's Le Mans.
Yeah.
And he's at Le Mans.
Yep.
But still, yeah, so the thing is, most of the time they do qualifying, because they come in for qualifying, and then it's fine.
Yep.
But you're right, I don't actually know where he would be placed. I imagine it might just be a pit lane start.
Yeah.
I did download the regulations ages ago. They're enormous and very boring.
I'm looking at the Formula One page.
Yep.
And they've got 19 names on the starting grid.
Yes.
But they've got Lance Stroll in at 14th, and my brain can't see who's missing.
Wait, okay, starting grid. This is Spain. Still says Stroll withdrawn due to injury. Sonoda from the pit lane. Oh, but wait.
We might have to do some clever editing here. We've got 2 McLarens.
Piastri.
We've got 2 Red Bulls. We've got 2 Mercedes, 2 Ferraris.
They've put 14 twice for Stroll and Behrman, look.
Oh.
So they've put Stroll in at 14th.
Oh.
Then it says withdrawn, and then everybody below him's moved up once.
Oh, okay.
They probably should have put a DNS next to Stroll to make it easier, but that's how they've done it.
Yeah. Now, there is a rumour. I think we can't call it anything stronger than a rumour. That Stroll gets Stroll gets passionate about qualifying and about his career.
Yeah.
And it wasn't outright denied by Aston Martin. People said he got annoyed when he was in the cool down after qualifying and he was out in Q2.
Yeah.
And that may have been what damaged his wrist.
Mm.
He was certainly called for weigh in and to do all the technical stuff, and he missed it. And I feel it was a bit of a fudge where they said, oh yeah, he was in pain. He went to the medical centre and he did all his paperwork afterwards. But I've heard rumours that either he punched a wall or he knocked some stuff off.
I have heard about that as well.
And Aston Martin didn't leave a no, that never happened.
No. Although I saw, I think, an Instagram comment of one of his mechanics who said that never happened.
Oh, okay.
One of Stroll's actual race mechanics who said, swearing in the garage never happened.
I know that there was an event about a year ago in the 2024 season where he pushed his physio out of the way.
Mm.
And that was again post-qualifying, and it was caught on camera, so this isn't speculation. He actually just basically shoved them out of the way and left the garage.
Yeah, but I mean, Schumacher used to punch things in his garage.
Yeah.
And he, that one time Coulthard crashed into him and he actually went to the garage to fight him.
Yeah.
They always get a bit straight out of the car. They're basically different people. So
they're hyped up, full of adrenaline. Yeah. And also Schumacher was definitely he was the best of his time.
Yes.
And I think if he'd had the racing schedule that somebody like Hamilton had, I think you could debate all day long who would have the most race wins.
Yeah, certainly.
But he was not a nice racer.
No, he wasn't clean.
Oh, he was the only person to ever get banned for a whole season.
Yeah, do you know how he did that? He drove into someone on purpose.
Yeah, I will come to that.
Just mentioning.
So, yeah, I've read things that, this is a 2.5-year-old problem with Stroll's wrists.
Yeah.
I was really surprised because he is going to be in Canada this weekend. And people were they were talking about the reserve drivers, and all of Aston Martin's reserve drivers have gone to Le Mans for the Le Mans 24.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there was a real kind of...
It's a little bit strange that they've not kept him just for one race.
Well, it's his home race, isn't it? That's the thing.
Yes, but you'd think him having surgery and then racing, first race in 23, now it's caused problems. You think they'd, leave him again?
I mean, some people, before he was announced for Canada, were actually saying this might be the end of his career.
What, if it's a chronic problem they can't fix? Then maybe.
Well, yeah, because it's... I mean, your wrists go through an absolute hammering in a Formula 1 car.
Yeah, I mean, through the steering, especially if you crashed and they get wrenched. I mean, Ricciardo broke his wrist.
Yeah.
And he was out for what, 3 races?
5 or 6, I think.
Let me have a look. What year was it?
23.
Or was it 24?
Well, it might have been 24.
Let me see. 24. I know he got kicked for 24, didn't he? He got completely...
Yeah. Also, I mean, that's basically why Kubica tried to come back and couldn't, because he didn't have the flexibility in his wrists after his rally accident.
Yeah. I mean, he came back, it just wasn't... Also, he was in a Williams.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it is one of those things.
It is.
So he needs to be back. If they have to withdraw again, they are going to look a bit silly for not getting Djokovic in.
Yeah.
Because I think quali for the Le Mans is done, maybe?
Yeah, they do it quite early, don't they?
Yeah. Yes. So, I think... I'm just looking up Le Mans now because I'm sort of interested.
But yeah, I mean...
Let's see if I can see where Djokovic has qualified or where his team has qualified.
But fundamentally, they're committed now. They've got no available backup drivers. They're not... You know, if Lance Stroll can't compete in Canada, they will once again field Alonso as the only car. That is their only option, I think. I think all their backup drivers are out.
I mean, looks like Djokovic's Cadillac has qualified in 8th for the hypercar.
So yeah, but I mean
So
they can't.
He did say he would ditch it for Le Mans, but
Yeah, but they can't fly him from France to Canada and drop him into a car.
no, they've committed, I think, now to Stroll.
Yeah, so it must be hype and rumour, and we can only assume it's not as bad as everybody thought it was.
Yes, it is a bit of a strange situation. But,
I mean,
oh well.
Toby's younger brother, my middle son, Ruben, cut a tendon in his finger. And he's not actually been allowed to drive a road car for, I think we're up to 7 weeks now.
God, so wait, when did it actually happen?
It was the last Monday in April, like the 27th, 28th.
So that's like if he did it between Saudi Arabia and Miami.
And he's not allowed to bend his... I mean, it's his little finger on his left hand. And he's not allowed to...
That's how you change gear, though, isn't it?
Yeah. He's not allowed to bend it. It's been splintered. And he's had an operation on it. That's my point. He had an operation on it on, I think, the Wednesday.
Yeah.
And it did actually take... I'm going to say 3 or 4 weeks for the scars to actually look properly like healed scars and not to be all red and angry. So again, I mean, the thought of having had an operation on your wrist and then putting 3-layer fireproof and gloves and race suit.
Yeah, I mean, Sainz did it.
Yeah.
To be fair, and he won the race as well.
Yeah.
Which I think might go down as one of those, like, in the future, like legendary kind of look how hardcore they were back then facts.
Yeah.
So when can Ruben drive again?
Well, he's seeing the physio on Monday, and he's hoping then he'll start exercises to flex the finger, and then he should be driving.
So that's this, but that's like
8 weeks.
Let's say he can get back for the 1st of July or maybe the 27th. So that's Austria.
Well, yeah, I think he might be driving on the 15th, to be honest.
Okay, but so that's like if he broke his wrist at Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
He misses like 5 races, not 1.
Yeah.
Is sort of what I'm getting at.
Yeah, except he didn't break his wrist, he cut his little finger.
Yeah. Ricardo missed 5 races for a broken wrist.
Yeah.
Then again, we don't actually have any idea what the injury was. It could just be like, a plate or something needs to be removed, or...
Yeah, or just a tweak.
We don't know. We're just sort of sitting here, like, judging silently.
Yeah. Now, shall we move on to the race? Because a lot happened.
Yes. Let me have a look. Yeah, it was quite a very tyre strategy heavy race, wasn't it?
Yeah, because like we say, it was a hot day in Spain. They've softened up the tyres. Piastri held the lead off the line.
Yeah.
Verstappen jumped Norris. Norris got him back. There's quite a period where Verstappen was running in the lead, but we weren't sure if he's doing a 2 or 3 lap race.
He pitted for an early for a second stop, which was like, can he last that long on the mediums? I think it was.
Yeah.
And then he went. Then he did do the. He did do the 3 stop.
Yeah.
Then Antonelli broke down.
Yeah, didn't get it into a safe position.
Well, the car just basically switched off.
Yeah.
As he was going into a corner, so he just coasted onto the gravel. Which is also... Isn't that like the 3rd Mercedes engine failure in like 3 races or something?
And they're all in Antonelli's car.
Yeah, he's actually had an awful run of luck in the last 3 races. And it's actually, I'd be a bit worried if I was any other Mercedes engine car, because what's going on with that,
It might just be the packaging anyway. They had a full safety car out.
Yeah.
Those who had it available, which again is very significant for Leclerc, dived in for new tyres.
I think actually everybody did, to be honest.
I don't think Lewis Hamilton did.
No, I think... let me check the actual pit stop list, because I'm able to see it.
Yeah, at the beginning of the race, after literally a handful of laps, Charles Leclerc was... Well, no, Hamilton was ordered to let Leclerc past. So that kind of 2-place advantage at qualifying evaporated in about 5 laps.
Yeah, because stuff happened.
Yep. The first chicane saw a lot of action as well because it's got a really nice escape road.
It was lap
Pardon me.
55, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because
There was a 6-lap dive to the end. But the escape road is actually shorter than the chicane, so if anybody couldn't make it, they ended up gaining an advantage.
Yeah. So Leclerc, Pitted and Hamilton, they did double stack.
Oh, okay.
They double stacked the McLarens. Verstappen came in, Alonso came in, Behrman, Tsunoda, Russell, Colapinto, Hadjar, Gasly, Sainz and Hulkenberg all came in.
But
Yeah.
what happened was most people went on to fresh softs because it was like literally 6 laps to the flag.
Or like, I think, rubbered in but not very well used softs, like an old quality set. Yeah.
Verstappen had run out of decent tyres,
Yeah.
so they sent him out on hards, which is a really bizarre strategy choice from the Red Bull garage.
Yeah, I think it was the only time the hards were run all race, actually.
Yeah, which is, again, really odd because there's very little data on them.
Yeah.
And Hamilton went out on used tyres, which put him at a huge disadvantage.
Yeah. But Leclerc got those fresh tyres on,
Yeah,
which was a gift.
yep.
So
Leclerc,
Verstappen... So, yeah, go on.
Leclerc fought his way up to a third on the podium.
Yes.
Verstappen and Russell went into... Oh, no. As the safety car period ended,
Yeah.
Verstappen came out of the final corner onto the start-finish straight.
Yes.
And I think we can safely say 18 out of the 20 drivers would have just stacked it there and then because
Yeah.
he massively lost the back end. The whole thing was just seesawing down the straight.
Full opposite lock. Proper vintage Verstappen save.
I mean, I think I would probably rate Hamilton or Alonso to save that.
Yeah. They've probably got the actual raw car control necessary.
Maybe Piastri.
Well, not sure if... We haven't really seen him do that sort of thing.
No, actually, he was in trouble.
Solid. He's very solid at the front, but he has made mistakes.
And he was in trouble in the rain in Australia. So, yeah, he had a huge slide. He went down the main straight. Leclerc was behind him, and as soon as they crossed the line, Leclerc was alongside because Leclerc was on fresh softs and Verstappen was on hards.
Yes.
So it wasn't even a kind of contest. And they touched very gently.
Yeah, going down the straight.
I think after it was all like shaken out, I think Leclerc was moving over ever so slightly to get the racing line into the first chicane.
Yeah.
And
Verstappen, I think, was also drifting. I think they said they moved into each other, so there was no action.
Yeah, it was just a tap. But then George Russell tried to overtake Max. I think he went up the inside on the chicane, didn't he?
Yes.
And he was alongside and slid and pushed Max off down into the escape road.
Yeah, Verstappen went down the escape road. And then...
It came out in front.
And then GP came on the radio and told him to let him through.
Yep.
So which Max said, why? I'm not going to do that. And then... Going into that one corner, I'm not sure what turn it was. Turn 4, I think.
Yep.
Verstappen moved over. Russell went round the sort of outside, and then Verstappen turned in and drove like through the corner into him.
Yeah.
He hit his car.
Yep.
Which was obviously like, you know, that became the big sort of story of the race.
Yeah.
Because then up ahead it was just Piastri just won.
Yeah. Norris second, Leclerc third, as we expected.
Yeah. Well, because, you know, Russell and Verstappen were doing that instead of chasing after Leclerc.
To be honest, Verstappen had hard tyres on. There's nothing he could have done about it.
Yeah, I think that was a part of the frustration as well
Yeah, it was a
was
bad
that
strategy.
he knew that he'd been screwed by the strategy, basically.
After the race, the steward said no further action on what caused it all because Russell was the overtaking one. He was trying to get through into fourth, and he went up the inside of Verstappen, but he lost control in the corner and basically pushed Max wide.
Yeah.
So there's no way George Russell should have come out of that in front, and the fact that Max left the track, he didn't gain an advantage. He just came back to where he should be.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of hot air online, as there always is, saying, "Oh, we should have been black flagged. Oh, didn't get like Schumacher and I think Senna get like totally disqualified for doing that in races." But the difference there is one. What Max did was very nuanced. He went through the corner and he booted it through the corner, and in a classic Max style move, he kind of opened the steering and just drifted sideways to bump wheels, basically, with... It wasn't like Vettel brake checking Hamilton, which has happened. It wasn't done like Senna or Schumacher have done on a calculated, if I get this driver out of the race, then I will be world champion. Which is what they have both done because they've worked out the points, and if neither of them finish, they'll win the championship.
Yeah.
So I think it was quite a lot more subtle. It wasn't like a deliberate, I'm going to push you into the gravel and then I'll be world champion.
I think to sort of half play devil's advocate a little bit.
Yeah.
It's Max Verstappen.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how I talk about track limits.
Yeah.
As a Formula One driver, I think it's reasonable to expect that he can effectively place his car where he likes.
Yeah, his car control is awesome.
So, he crashed into him on purpose.
Yeah.
So I think, yes, he did do it in a way that was maybe less overt than when Vettel did it to Hamilton. He just got up alongside him. But it was also, that was at racing speed, whereas Vettel's was behind the safety car.
Which again, I think is worse, but...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying it's worse for Verstappen.
Yeah.
And I think... Yeah.
Nico
Rosberg, who is actually a Formula One driver and was quite hilarious on commentary the whole time.
Oh, yeah, he was brilliant.
For just sort of speaking his mind.
Yeah.
He said black flag instantly.
Yeah.
And he was just going on about like how horrible it was the whole time.
Yes.
Which is, yeah. But I think, to be honest, I think 10 seconds is very lenient regardless. Because Vettel got stop-go, which is actually a 30-second penalty in effect for what he did to Hamilton. And earlier in the race, Behrman had been given a 10-second penalty for basically running over Albon's front wing by accident.
Yeah. I mean, I think
Yeah.
I think they look at the whole situation in a way.
Yeah.
The fact that it was 5 or 6 laps after a safety car meant that a 10-second penalty actually demoted him from 4th to 9th.
Or was it 10th?
Oh, it was 10th, I think. Yeah, he went from 4th to 10th.
Yeah.
So if they'd given him a stop-go, it would have taken 1 point off his tally.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have sent a message. I think you're right. I think it would have sent a message. And it wasn't a... well, it kind of was deliberate because he...
I mean, of course it was. I mean...
He tapped his brakes 3 times. Russell went round the outside and then he just went full throttle and drifted into him.
Yeah.
And the problem Max has got is we saw him last time out in Imola, where on the opening few corners, when the tyres are cold and you're fully weighted with fuel, he went wheel to wheel with Piastri through the chicane in the most incredible display of car control, feel of the tyres.
And he was
fine. It was just unbelievable the degree to which Max knows where the car is, how the grip is, exactly what...
That's what I'm sort of saying. It's like he can't kind of say that that's like an accident.
No.
Because we know he in particular is so good that it must have been on purpose.
Yeah. I think it was this free practice. where again Nico Rosberg was commentating.
Yeah.
And he was saying he was watching a free practice session, and they do the onboard with the lap.
Yeah.
And Nico was saying, this is like watching art.
Yeah.
Because the whole trick of driving modern Formula One cars is you don't want to go so slow that you've got perfect grip and control through the corner, because your lap will be useless. You'll be seconds off the pace.
Yeah.
So what you do is you push it till it goes into oversteer, which is where the back end steps out. But then you have to correct it. But if you do that too much, you scrub out the rear tyres and you're seesawing at the wheel. You see it on the onboards where they're kind of too much oversteer, back off straight, and they're kind of seesawing.
Right on the edge.
Yeah, and he said he watched Max go through an entire lap where it was just absolutely perfect balance. He wasn't, sliding it. He wasn't so slow the front end was washing out. He was just absolutely on the limit.
Mm.
And he said, that's like, because I've driven these cars, he said that's like watching an artist at work, literally. It's like, I've tried to draw a picture and I've failed. Now let's watch somebody who's absolutely brilliant at it.
Yeah.
And in contrast, he watched Lewis doing the same lap, obviously, in the Ferrari, and he was like, oh my God, it's such a horrible car. He said you can just see how it's just not responding right, how everything Lewis tries to get it to do, it fights him and does something opposite.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it probably was quite a light penalty, all things considered. It would have probably sent a message.
As you're right, as you say as well, it only would have actually been 1 point in the championship.
But I think, as they said as well, you've got lots of up-and-coming racers. Look how Isaac Hadjar and I think Colapinto and other people looked up to Hamilton. You've got everybody from F4 upwards who are going, oh my God, Max is a 4-time champion. That's what I want to be like.
Yeah, I want to be like ruthless and aggressive, but
yeah.
And
so I think if he got either a drive-through or a stop-go, would have dropped him out of the points. It raises another very, very interesting point.
Yes.
Max has now got 11 penalty points.
Yes.
He has to have a completely clean weekend in Canada and a completely clean weekend in Austria.
Yeah, because then I think he loses one.
Yeah. Is it 1 or 3?
I don't know. I think he loses 1, and then it's another 3 after that. I can have a look.
Yeah, but I mean, there have been all sorts of theories that there is a trigger point allegedly in Max's contract where if he's not, I think, top 3 by I think maybe the summer break, then he can exit.
Yeah.
Which I think Max loves winning too much. I don't think he'd deliberately drop down below Russell just to kind of get out of a contract.
Yes. Okay. So Max has got 2 points expiring 30th of June.
After Austria.
So
if he keeps his nose clean, he'll be on 9, which is still danger zone.
Yeah, because he could get another 3.
Yeah.
And then the next one's in October.
Yeah.
So he really has got to be... He's got the most of anyone by a long way.
Or does he get to 12 points and then he has a race ban and they go back to 0?
That could be the case, actually. But still,
anyway,
losing a race win, I don't think he could... Mathematically, I think he's okay from Russell.
Yeah.
But that would still... He'd be so far off the championship at that point. He'd be like 50 points away.
Yeah.
It would almost be hopeless.
Also, actually, that's not true. Only one person has ever actually been banned from a race, and that was Magnussen, wasn't it?
Yeah. The first one was before they did
the point system.
The point system. That was Grosjean of Belgium.
Okay.
He got banned for a race. The FIA just said, "Look, you can't do that."
Yeah.
He took out like 5 people, 3 of whom were like championship contenders. So they were like, "Roman, just go home." And then they introduced the point system to be a bit more fair.
Go home and think about what you've done.
I think under the point system, because I'm sure they used to ban them all the time back in the day, it's Magnussen's the first one. And that's where we saw Ollie Behrman, I think.
Yeah. Having a 4-time current world champion banned for a race would be kind of...
Yeah, would be quite funny.
Yeah.
But also that might be another another pushing point for Verstappen to maybe consider retiring.
Yeah.
If he's like, well, this is how the racing is now, I can't race how I want to.
Yeah.
The car's not good enough, so I'm forced into making these, mistakes, putting on the hard
his
tyres.
apology was a very kind of ham-fisted, oh, well, these things happened and they were unfortunate, but my team gave me the wrong information.
They did, to be fair. The race, from Red Bull's perspective, was kind of an operational disaster.
Yeah.
Because even, before they said the wrong thing over the radio, they put the wrong tyres on as well, and he would have lost that place to Russell anyway.
Yeah.
Maybe even to Hamilton and Hülkenberg behind.
Yeah, Hülkenberg actually steamed past Hamilton because he was on better tyres.
That was a weird thing to see.
Yeah.
Do you know what else happened, actually?
What?
So Hamilton came in for his stop.
Yep.
Under the safety car. Ferrari made a front wing adjustment.
Yep.
To help with the tyre deg.
Yep.
Do you know who the one Ferrari team member they didn't tell was?
Hamilton?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So he came on the radio and said, what the hell's wrong with the car? It feels weird. And they said, oh yeah, we changed the front wing. He was like, I didn't ask to change the front wing. And that's why he was so slow.
The whole communication in that team is horrible. Switch over. Hamilton gave an interview afterwards to one of the... was it Rachel or somebody? One of the journalists.
Yeah.
And when the interview was over, this was heavily reported, he actually went up to her and said, I'm really sorry, that was a bad interview. I'm just so down at the moment. I just don't know what I'm doing. I'm not fast enough. I don't know what the problem is with the car. I suspect it's me. Which is... it's kind of very hard on the sleeve, Hamilton, and it's very much, he wants to give good interviews. He's very responsive to his fans.
Yeah.
But it's also,
apparently...
Yeah.
There might have been a technical issue.
Yeah.
But they're not going to say what it was, which is a bit weird.
I think, as well, this comes back to what we said before. Hamilton needs to be like Schumacher. He needs to rip that team to pieces.
Yeah.
He needs to say, I don't care if Riccardo Adami has been here since... I think it's been about 20 years as a race engineer.
Okay, you think he'd have gotten good at it at some point.
Yeah, he needs to say either he does what I want in the way I want, or he's out.
Yeah. But also...
he needs to find a Ross Brawn or...
Well, he needs to make Vasseur do that for him.
Yeah.
But I don't know how Schumacher did it, because Ferrari is so old and Italian and entrenched.
Yeah, and also they're kind of a bit enthralled to the tifosi and to the press. Because we don't see it so much over here, but in France and Italy, I know this through cycling as well, there's a very strong sporting press, and you get dedicated sporting newspapers that just report on the sport. And
that's L'Equipe.
Yeah.
Is that the yellow one that did the yellow
jersey? They didn't sponsor the yellow jersey, that was a regular newspaper. But
oh, okay.
But there's a lot of pressure on Ferrari from outside. They went through a whole period of just sacking team principals if they couldn't turn up and be winning titles in 18 months.
Yeah. Not quite as bad as Alpine.
No.
But, yeah, I think they need to let Vasseur settle for at least another 5 years or so, go through the new regulations.
Yeah.
Get new people in. And then we'll see.
But yeah, it's horrible to watch. It's weird because Leclerc is picking up podiums.
Yeah.
So the car is there. It's just the kind of...
Well, do you remember that final stint in Italy?
Yep.
Hamilton said afterwards that was the best he'd ever felt, and he was absolutely flying.
Yeah.
It's got a very narrow operating window.
Yeah.
It's a bit like that Mercedes he was driving.
Yeah.
22 or 23, where it could be very, very good, but they didn't know why.
Yes.
I think that's sort of what they've got.
Well, I'm just having a quick look at the results. Piastri won from
again,
Lando Norris.
We haven't talked about it because it's quite obvious, but
here's a stat. Here's a stat for you.
Yes.
Drivers, McLaren drivers,
yes,
who've achieved 8 consecutive podiums.
I know one off the top of my head.
Who's that?
Hamilton.
Yep.
Because he got 9 from debut, didn't he?
I think so, yeah.
Which is actually ridiculous when you properly think about it. But
okay, there's 2 more who've had 8 consecutive podiums for McLaren.
Is it Senna and Prost?
No.
Huh?
It's Senna and Piastri.
Oh, of course, I forgot.
But then you kind of start realising there's actually not a kind of a stretch, we've made up this kind of weird statistic, but there's actually a fairly significant statistic for one team's drivers, and it's Hamilton, Senna and Piastri. Yes.
And it's like how was he like the first driver since Senna to get 3 consecutive victories for McLaren?
Maybe Hakkinen,
I think.
Or
There's still the fact that like Alonso and Hamilton couldn't do that.
I would have said Hamilton would have got 3 consecutive.
Nope. I will now check the 2007 thing. So Hamilton, 2 in a row, Canada and USA, Hungary, and then Japan. And Alonso's were all separated out as well. Together, they got 3 in a row, but because they were so evenly matched. And then again, his 2008 season was actually quite messy. He only ever got 2 in a row, and then from there, they were never front runners enough to be dominant. It's only once you get to his move to Mercedes that he was winning like 4 or 5 in a row every now and then.
Yeah.
The thing is, they were not reliable enough before McLaren.
Okay, I'm looking up consecutive podiums because that is a bit of a fudged statistic because it's McLaren drivers.
Yeah.
People with consecutive podiums. Schumacher got 19 over cross seasons.
God.
So you've got Schumacher, Hamilton,
which is every single stat in Formula One ever is those two.
Verstappen, Alonso, Vettel.
Again.
More Hamilton.
Yes.
And then this is you've got PK Schumacher again, Nico Rosberg because he was in that. Lauda, Rosberg again, Jim Clark, Verstappen, Schumacher again, Hamilton again, Oscar Piastri.
Is he the highest non-champion?
By a long way.
Because, I mean, the way it's going this season, he won't be a non-champion for long, will he?
Nico Rosberg, Verstappen, Hamilton, Senna, Reutemann, Rosberg. Oh, Montoya's in there.
Okay, I don't think Montoya won a championship.
No, Prost, Hamilton, Schumi.
Still.
And he's on 8 at the moment. If he gets another one, he'll move up to 9.
Actually, what was his... Oh, he didn't get a podium at the end of last year.
And he didn't get one in Australia. That's what the difference.
No, I know. I was wondering if there was like a 1 race gap, and it would have actually been like 20, but no.
No. What else happened? Leclerc got another podium. Russell came 4th, which again is classic, quiet, silent Russell.
Although it wasn't really, because he got in a big fight with Verstappen.
Yeah.
Still. Hulkenberg
overtook a Ferrari and got 5th, which for a recovery drive is epic.
I mean, forget recovery drive. In a Sauber, 5th is epic regardless.
Well, starting grid, he was 15th.
Which is what, Q2, but not any further? That's good for a Sauber.
And that's a 10 place
advancement. And the thing is, it was what Albon DNF'd, Antonelli DNF'd, but that's it. And then Verstappen got a penalty.
Yeah.
But that's only 3 drivers ahead of him who had problems. That still would have been 8th on pace.
Yeah.
Which is actually the first points he would have got since Australia.
Brilliant. Again, Hadjar came in 7th.
Again, solid and very reliable from Hadjar.
Like you say, Gasly came in 8th.
Yeah, also doing quite well.
And Alonso, in Spain, home race, got his first points of the year and, well, now 9th after Verstappen.
That is pretty epic, to be fair.
He's had such a run of bad luck.
Yeah, and actually to get in Spain as well, I'm sure he might be a bit like, oh, it's only 9th, I would have liked a podium. But it's still kind of like a nice moment.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's pretty much all the stories as well. I keep hearing low-level rumours that nobody can pin down that Christian Horner is in trouble.
Yeah. I don't know. I think with Red Bull, lots of things could come crashing down.
Yeah.
Because of, yeah. I mean,
like we say,
if Max leaves, then it could really...
Well, operationally, this weekend was difficult.
Yeah, they've had the bad pit stop thing as well.
And also, somebody pointed out, and this would actually ring true if there was any business you in ever, the whole thing with Sergio Perez.
Mm.
The estimates are he cost the team $18 million by making a really bad decision.
Which was?
Well, signing him up on a 2-year extension of his contract and then sacking him.
Oh, yeah.
Because that then meant that they had to pay him out, I think, $18 million to get him out of the contract.
Yeah.
And then, to be honest, neither Lawson nor Tsunoda actually are doing any better than Perez was last year.
No, they're doing worse, arguably.
And then you've kind of got to sit down if you're the management. I think you're starting to lose the confidence of the actual senior Red Bull management.
Well, there was that whole, kind of civil war, a year or two ago, wasn't there?
Yeah.
But
I think there's still disciplinary question marks hanging over him as well, Christian Horner.
Yeah, even if that's untrue, which we can't say it's true or not, really.
Yeah.
It's still something against him, isn't it? It's a problem they wish they didn't have.
It's a distraction.
Yeah.
I think far more serious is the fact that he cost them tens of millions of dollars. I mean, he feels like any regular business, like a bank or a chain of hotels or something.
If they said, you've cost us $18 million and functionally nothing's changed, they would be booted pretty quickly, actually.
It'd be like, oh yeah, you employed this superstar to come in and save the company, and then 6 months later you decided they weren't the answer to saving the company and you sacked them, and the golden handshake bill was $18 million. It'd be like,
Yeah.
I mean, imagine if you were making a film and you employed an actor on a 2-year contract, and then you looked at the first rough cuts of the film and went, nah, we'll actually just sack them and reshoot. It's
for $18 million. And then it was still a crap film.
Yeah, I'd be like...
Well, yeah.
So, I think there's still politics to come there.
They announced the 2026 calendar.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that.
There is actually one big thing with that.
Yeah.
I can't find it now, but they've swapped Monaco and Canada.
Oh, yeah, because they keep trying to... Yeah, because now it goes Saudi, USA, Miami, Canada, and then you've got a whole batch of...
Then you've got the European season, which starts in Monaco and ends in, Spain or Baku, depends where you draw the lines, really.
Yeah, well, definitely ends in Madrid, and then it goes over to Baku, and then to Singapore, so there's much more of a kind of...
It's better for sustainability, for sure.
And we've been saying this, I'm sure we said it last year, it's like trying to turn a supertanker. A lot of these have got 5, 6... How long did... A really obscure one just signed up. I think Miami just signed up a 25-year deal or something, didn't it?
Yeah, until 2040.
Yeah.
Which is one of the longest deals I've seen.
Zandvoort. I thought we were going to get rid of Zandvoort at some point.
Is it on there?
Yeah, August.
Maybe for next year, as in 27. I don't know. But it is interesting, and it is good that they've gone more kind of. Again, they've got an Asian season or a Southeast Asian season.
Australia, China, Japan, that makes sense.
Bahrain, Saudi, fine.
And
then a sort of mini trip over to North America.
Yeah.
Big Central European season, and then Singapore and Azerbaijan again next to each other, and then you finish off in the Americas, and then back off to the Middle East. It could still be better.
Getting there. Madrid's got a star by it because it needs to be homologated. Yeah, is there going to be a street circuit around Madrid?
I think so.
That'd be nice.
But there is a big thing.
Yeah.
The Monaco Grand Prix won't be happening at the same time as the Indy 500 anymore.
Oh.
And the Indy 500 people are actually a bit annoyed because a lot of people watch the Monaco Grand Prix in the afternoon, and then in the evening, for a whole day of racing, they would tune into the 500 because it was on the same day. You remember Alonso had to do one and not the other.
Yeah.
And now it's not. They're like, well, we might lose viewers because of that, because it's like 2/3 of the Triple Crown were on the same day, and now they're not.
Yeah.
But I don't think it matters that much personally.
No, I think if people are interested, they'll watch. I mean, they might lose the let's have a beer and put some sports on crowd, but I think the fans will.
I mean, I've hardly watched it, to be honest. I watched a bit of it a few years ago, but
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've got Canada coming up. It's all evenings. I think I'm looking at it now. Qualifying is tomorrow. We're doing this very late because we wanted to find out what's going on with Stroll and with Verstappen's penalties and everything else.
Yeah.
So
the one thing on Verstappen we forgot to mention.
Yeah.
Arvid Lindblad.
Oh yeah.
He's had his. The FIA have provided an exemption for his age limit, so he can have a super license because he is 17 until the 8th of August.
Yep.
Oh, he actually has his super license approved.
Yeah, because they changed the rules because almost certainly Max Verstappen is going to hold all of the youngest podium win, complete a lap, etc. in Formula 1 because he did a lot when he was 17 and a few days past 18.
Yeah.
And after that, they changed the rules.
They said 18 is the
limit for a super license.
Yeah.
But they also then, I think, relented because I think Toto wanted to get Antonelli in a car sooner.
Yeah, I think for free practice.
I think free practice 1 sessions, but he really was quite interested in getting Antonelli in the track. So they said that, well, if you make a case as an exception, we will sit down and listen and we will decide on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah.
And I think both Antonelli and Lindblad look kind of mature enough, to be honest.
I guess, yeah.
And are good enough drivers because they're both really good in F2.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm looking at Lindblad. He's had 2 victories already.
So yeah, if anything,
which is not nothing.
I mean, most of Red Bull's reserve drivers are their Racing Bull drivers, so...
Yeah, so I think it's quite obvious the reason they've done that now is in case Verstappen gets a race ban in the next race or the one after.
Yeah.
They need another driver because they need to put either Lawson or Hadjar up to the Red Bull, and then they need to fill in the Racing Bull seat. So that's presumably what Lindblad will do.
And to be honest, can you imagine sitting down with Max Verstappen and saying, right, just keep a cool head and keep out of trouble this race?
I've actually already seen a headline that says, my approach won't change.
Yeah.
Threat of race ban, not changing my approach, says Verstappen.
Yeah.
So he just won't.
I had a thought, actually.
Yeah.
About Red Bull strategy.
Yes.
The most obvious thing to do would have been to leave him out.
Yeah, I think so.
Because then he would have been the de facto leader. But I'm wondering if somebody in the Red Bull garage thought, actually having Max leading a race on shonky, worn-out tyres, while you've got people like Piastri, Norris and Leclerc trying to get past him. We know Max's normal approach is to just slide it into the corners and push people into the barriers. The sort of fallout if he just shoved Piastri or Norris straight into either a barrier or the gravel. The fallout from that would have been far, far worse than if they put him on bad tyres and dropped him down to 4th, and then he wouldn't be fighting over the He would be fighting over the important places, as it were.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, it didn't really work for them because he still got a penalty.
He still got in trouble and got a penalty, but that was with George Russell.
Yeah, not
I think
Piastri.
I think if something similar had happened with Piastri or Norris, it would have been a lot more serious because...
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if anybody in the Red Bull garage actually cares that much about how it looks.
It probably was just a split-second decision.
Yeah, a bad one.
Yeah, but again, we're sitting here, it's always the case, we're sitting here days afterwards.
Yeah.
And going, this and this and that, but in the moment, it was literally seconds. Hannah Schmitz or whoever it was, they look to her and she says, box for hards. And then they do it. Because, again, if he'd stayed out, he might have lost those places anyway. He probably would have done, because he'd have been on old softs.
Yeah, or old mediums.
Yeah, I think he was on softs by then.
Yeah.
So, they would have gone, why didn't they pit him? Even an old set of hards would have been good, but, yeah.
Yeah.
It's, operationally not great for Red Bull this weekend.
No. I think we're about done there, aren't we? We've probably gone on a bit too long, but...
Well, there's a lot of stuff happened in the week in between. It's not too long so far, actually.
No. We've got Canada coming up, so...
Yeah. Quite a fun track, actually, Canada. It's usually...
Yeah, it's kind of semi-street. It's not like a full professional circuit, but it's not actually roads where cars go.
No, they've got bits of runoff areas, bits of grass mostly. Quite a high speed.
It's got a nice lake in the middle. I quite like it.
It is a good track, actually, yeah.
Yeah. Or is it in the middle of a lake?
I think it's in the middle of a lake.
Yeah.
Near Montreal. Or in Montreal, I don't know.
Yeah.
Then after that, it's Austria, which is also quite a laugh.
Yeah, and it's all going to... I think if any politics is going to play out, or race bans or anything, I think Austria is where it is, because it's the Red Bull wing.
Yeah. But also Austria, Verstappen's gotten in trouble in there before.
Yeah.
He's had incidents.
Yeah, with Norris.
We'll see. I mean, he is calmer than he used to be.
Yeah.
But we will see.
Yep. Okay then. I think I'm going to say thank you for listening.
Yep.
I've been Graham Miller. You've been Toby Miller.
Mm-hmm.
If you like a nice twisty murder mystery, look up Graham H. Miller. If you like watching gaming videos, look up Official Tibby.
Yeah.
Apart from that, I'm just going to say goodbye.
Yep. Thanks for listening.